When a corrupt anti-Trump judge insulted Karoline Leavitt right in court, he thought he was untouchable. But just minutes later, when she struck back, the entire courtroom fell silent. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. That day, in a stifling federal courtroom, everything started as usual until Judge Maxwell Carter stepped up to the bench, his face flushed with anger. "No coffee in my court," he barked at the clerk, startling the young woman. "Tell the defense team 2 more minutes and they're not here. I'll hold them in contempt." The courtroom was packed with spectators, the air heavy as Maxwell Carter, a notorious Trump critic, prepared to hear a case involving the Faith and Family Foundation, a conservative charity accused of financial fraud. Known for his harshness, especially toward anyone tied to the conservative side, today he was clearly in no mood. "Sir," the clerk timidly reported, "Press Secretary Leavitt has arrived to testify." Maxwell Carter's face darkened. "Oh, how special," he sneered, not bothering to hide his contempt. "Tell her this isn't the White House. Her title means nothing here." Karoline Leavitt walked in, confident and sharp, holding a thick stack of documents. She nodded to the court staff, but Maxwell Carter glared at her like a hawk, tapping his fingers on the desk impatiently. "Let me make this clear," he growled. "I am the law here, got it, Miss Leavitt?" Karoline Leavitt stood tall in the middle of the courtroom, her gaze unwavering despite Judge Maxwell Carter's arrogant declaration that he was the law. She gave a slight smirk, a mix of confidence and defiance, then replied, "Understood, sir. But the law isn't something you can twist at will." Maxwell Carter froze, his hands mid-tap on the desk, his face turning beet red as if about to explode. "You dare lecture me about the law in my own courtroom, you Trump Gen Z brat," he roared, voice dripping with scorn, pointing a trembling finger at her. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. A man in the back row muttered to his neighbor, "She's got guts," while a few spectators snickered. But Leavitt didn't care. She stepped forward, raising her thick stack of documents, her voice clear and cutting. "I'm not here to lecture you, Your Honor. I'm here to testify to the truth, something you seem unwilling to hear." Maxwell Carter slammed his gavel hard, the bang drowning out all other noise. "Silence," he shouted, eyes blazing. "You're not a lawyer, not a court official, just some empty Trump mouthpiece. What makes you think you have a say here?" Leavitt didn't flinch. She locked eyes with him, her voice calm but powerful. "I have a say when justice is at stake, sir. This case involves the Faith and Family Foundation, a charity our administration supports. I have evidence of their financial transparency, and you need to see it." Maxwell Carter smirked mockingly, leaning back in his chair as if he'd heard a bad joke. "Evidence? Charity?" he jeered, voice shrill. "I know this game. Rich conservatives hiding money behind Faith and Family. Don't waste my time with fairy tales, Miss Leavitt." She opened her documents, flipping to the first page, and read aloud, "March 15, 2024. The Faith and Family Foundation met with donors in Manchester, New Hampshire. Every contribution was clearly recorded, publicly." Maxwell Carter cut her off instantly, slamming the gavel again. "Enough," he yelled, face flushed. "I don't need to hear that nonsense list. This is a courtroom, not a White House press briefing." But Leavitt didn't stop. She lifted her head, eyes sharp as knives, and continued, "Including independent audit records proving no fraud. Do you want to see them, or are you afraid the truth will embarrass you?" The courtroom went dead silent. The young clerk near the desk shrank in her seat, as if fearing collateral damage. Maxwell Carter gritted his teeth, gripping the gavel so tight his knuckles turned white. "You're crossing the line, Leavitt," he snarled, voice trembling with rage. "One more word, and I'll hold you in contempt right now." Leavitt gave a slight shrug, a small but defiant gesture. "If you want to jail me for telling the truth, go ahead, but I won't stay silent while you try to bury justice." Maxwell Carter shot up from his chair, pointing straight at her, breathing heavily. "Justice? You dare talk to me about justice? A Trump puppet? A little girl who knows nothing about the law, standing here lecturing me?" He banged the gavel repeatedly, the sound echoing through the room, but his eyes flickered with unease as they darted to the documents in Leavitt's hands. She smiled faintly and replied, "I don't need to lecture you, Your Honor. Your actions speak for themselves." The defense attorney, a young woman standing beside Leavitt, spoke up. "Your Honor, We just want to establish context. These documents were properly filed during discovery. Maxwell Carter cut her off, his voice booming like thunder. Context? I don't need context. This is a financial fraud case, not a charity event. Shut up, or you'll be held in contempt too. He slammed the gavel again, but this time the sound was weaker, as if his control was slipping away. Leavitt took another step forward, her voice cutting through the gavel's echo. If you don't want to hear about faith and family, then let's talk about the Liberty Fund. Does that name ring a bell, Your Honor? Maxwell Carter froze, his hand mid-air with the gavel, his face turning from red to pale in an instant, eyes blinking rapidly as if she'd hit a nerve. What did you say? He asked, voice dropping to a near whisper. Leavitt tilted her head, locking eyes with him sharply. The Liberty Fund, she repeated slowly, each word pinning the air. You know, the group that funneled money into your offshore account, oddly timed with rulings against conservative defendants. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. A man in the back row let out a shocked "oh," while others raised their phones to record. Maxwell Carter slammed the gavel harder than ever, nearly snapping its handle. Silence. Silence now, he screamed, voice cracking, hands shaking. You have no right to make baseless accusations in my courtroom. But the panic in his eyes was unmistakable. Sweat rolled down his forehead, his breathing ragged like he was suffocating. Leavitt didn't back down. She held up a sheet of paper, her voice calm but razor sharp. Baseless. This is a bank statement with your signature, Your Honor. March 16, 2024, one day after the Liberty Fund meeting, $100,000 shows up in your Cayman account. How do you explain that? Maxwell Carter blinked rapidly, clumsily running a hand through his disheveled hair, eyes darting like he was searching for an escape. That's fabricated, he stammered, voice quivering. You dare slander me, I'll make you pay for this. The question is, Leavitt replied, voice icy, do you dare deny it? She flipped another page, reading aloud, April 20th, another $50,000 from the same source. Want me to keep going? Maxwell Carter didn't answer right away. He sank back into his chair, gripping the desk's edge, staring at the paper from afar like it was a death sentence. Maxwell Carter took a deep breath, trying to regain composure, but his voice still faltered as he shouted, You have no proof. This is a Trump circus to ruin me. He pointed at Leavitt, hand trembling. You'll regret crossing me, little girl. But Leavitt just gave a cold smile, her eyes never leaving him. Regret? No, Your Honor. I'm just getting started. Judge Maxwell Carter slumped back into his chair, gripping the desk's edge, his wild eyes fixed on Karoline Leavitt as she challenged. Do you dare deny it? Her words were a razor-sharp blade slicing through his already crumbling authority. The courtroom went silent for a moment, only Carter's heavy breathing cutting through the stifling air. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself, then shot up, pointing at Leavitt with a shaking finger. Deny? I don't need to deny anything, he roared, voice breaking with rage. That's all lies. Where'd you get that trash paper? I'll sue you for defamation. Leavitt didn't budge, her gaze locked on Carter, unflinching. Defamation? She countered, voice calm but cutting through the air. This isn't just talk, Your Honor. This is evidence, bank statements, your signature, and emails too. She flipped another page in her stack, reading aloud, June 12, 2024, email from you to a Liberty Fund rep. Thanks for the timely support. Faith and family will be handled as planned. How do you explain that? The courtroom exploded in whispers. A woman in the back whispered, Oh my God, is that real? While others raised their phones, flashes popping non-stop. Maxwell Carter slammed his gavel hard, the bang failing to drown out the noise. Silence, he yelled, face purple with rage. It's forged. I never sent any email. This is a Trump plot to destroy me. He turned to the clerk, snarling, Record this now, she's making up stories in my courtroom. The clerk, the young woman at the desk, kept her head down, hands trembling over her papers, too scared to look up. Leavitt smirked coldly, holding up another sheet. Forged? Then why does this email come from your official address, Your Honor? And why does it match a $75,000 deposit to your Cayman account that same day? She tilted her head, eyes like daggers. Want me to read more, or will you explain it yourself? Maxwell Carter staggered, clutching his chair for balance. You have no right, he screamed, voice shrill. This is my courtroom, and I won't let a political puppet turn it into a circus. He banged the gavel repeatedly, each strike betraying his growing panic. I forbid you to say another word, Leavitt. One more, and I'll have you dragged out. But his voice had lost its certainty, replaced by blatant fear as his eyes flicked to the documents in her hands. She stepped closer, her voice ringing through the room. Forbid me? You don't have the power to forbid the truth, Your Honor. Let me tell you about the Thompson case from last month. She flipped another page, reading aloud. A small business owner lost everything because you refused to review his charity evidence, just like this case. 2 days later, your account got an $80,000 boost from the Liberty Fund. Quite a coincidence, huh? The courtroom erupted in chatter. A man yelled, "Corruption plain as day," as phones kept recording relentlessly. Maxwell Carter shouted over the noise, "Enough, I'm a federal judge, not some crook for you to slander." He turned to the court staff nearby, "Get her out of here now." "That's an order." But the staff exchanged hesitant glances, none moving. One subtly shook his head, as if he'd lost faith in Carter. Carter spun back, face pale, pointing at Leavitt. "You think you're clever, don't you? You and Trump will pay for crossing me." Leavitt didn't retreat. She held up another sheet, voice icy. "Clever? No, Your Honor, I just have the truth. Here's a bank statement from May 2024, the Wilson case. You sealed all the records right after meeting the Liberty Fund, and the next day, $150,000 showed up in your account. What do you call that? A job bonus?" The courtroom buzzed again, a woman shouting, "Arrest him," as flashes from the audience lit up Carter's panicked face. Carter pounded the desk, this time with both hands instead of the gavel, screaming, "You have no proof. It's all fake. I'll sue you. Sue Trump. Sue your whole conservative mob." But sweat poured down his forehead, his breathing ragged like he was choking. He turned to the defense attorney, who'd been silent until now. "Stop her. She can't do this." The attorney, a young woman, stood, voice shaky. "Your Honor, these documents were properly filed during discovery. You can't stop her." Carter glared at Leavitt, eyes wild. "What do you want, huh? To ruin me?" He slammed the desk again, voice cracking. "You don't know who you're messing with, little girl." But Leavitt just smiled coldly, her voice ringing like a verdict. "No, Your Honor, you don't know who you're messing with. I have enough evidence to show the world who you are, a corrupt sellout of justice." She raised the stack of documents high, voice firm. "This isn't just about faith and family, it's a string of cases you've twisted for Liberty Fund money. Want me to keep reading, or will you confess now?" Maxwell Carter didn't respond. He gasped for air, wiping his face, eyes darting like he was searching for an exit. The audience held its breath, phones recording non-stop, the tension in the courtroom rising to a suffocating peak. Judge Maxwell Carter stood there, hands trembling as they gripped the desk's edge, his wild eyes scanning the courtroom as Karoline Leavitt held the documents aloft, challenging, "Want me to keep reading, or will you confess now?" Her words were a ticking bomb, shattering the last of his dwindling authority. The courtroom went dead silent, only Carter's panting breaking the stifling air. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself, then suddenly shouted, "Shut up, I won't let you ruin me." His voice cracked, almost pleading, as he slammed his hands on the desk, rattling the papers. Leavitt didn't budge, her gaze locked on Carter, cold and resolute. "Ruin you," she shot back, voice sharp as a blade. "No, Your Honor, you ruined yourself when you sold out justice." She pulled a small device from her pocket, and held it up. "This is a recording from your office. Want to hear your own voice?" Without waiting for a reply, she pressed play, and Carter's voice came through. "Wipe all the faith and family files. I don't want them in the trial. If anyone asks, say they're lost." The courtroom erupted. A man in the back yelled, "Oh my God, no way," as phones recorded relentlessly. The clerk, the young woman by the desk, burst into sobs, covering her face. "He made me do it," she cried between gasps. "He said he'd ruin my career if I didn't." Her tears fueled the fire, sparking outrage among the audience. A woman stood, shouting, "Blatant corruption." Maxwell Carter froze, eyes wide with horror. "Stop it, turn it off," he bellowed, lunging across the desk to grab the device from Leavitt. but she stepped back quickly, keeping it out of reach. He stumbled, crashing to the floor, scattering papers everywhere. Laughter erupted from the audience, mixed with angry jeers. Carter scrambled up, hair a mess, robe skewed, looking nothing like a federal judge. "It's fake," he screamed, pointing a shaky finger at Leavitt. "You made it up. It's a Trump conspiracy." Leavitt stood still, eyes fixed on him. "Fake?" she asked, voice icy. "Then why are you panicking like this? If it's not real, just calmly prove it." She raised the documents, flipping another page. "But I'm afraid you can't. This is security footage from your office, July 10th, 11 p.m., showing you ordering evidence destroyed. Want to hear more?" Carter didn't answer. He panted, wiping his face, sweat dripping like he'd been drenched. Then he did the unthinkable. With his last ounce of strength, Carter bolted for the back door, his private chambers, like he meant to flee. "I can't take this anymore," he yelled, voice breaking. But two court officers reacted fast, blocking the exit. "Sir, you can't leave," one said firmly. Carter spun around, face pale, screaming, "You're betraying me. All of you," he flailed wildly, like a cornered animal. The courtroom descended into chaos. Spectators jumped up, some clapping, others booing. A man shouted, "Serves him right," as phones kept recording. Maxwell Carter staggered back to the bench, slamming his hands down, but the gavel was gone, lying on the floor from his earlier outburst. "It's a setup," he wailed, voice shrill. "Her and Trump framed me. I'm a federal judge, you can't touch me." Leavitt stepped closer, her voice a verdict. "A setup? No, Your Honor, this is the truth you can't escape." She flipped another page, reading aloud. "August 5th email from you to the Liberty Fund. The next case will need more support. Make sure the money's on time. Anything to say?" Carter stumbled, clutching his chair, eyes darting for an exit. That's fake," he stammered, but his voice was weak, unconvincing. The clerk, still sobbing, rose from her seat, pointing at Carter. "He forced me to do it all," she cried, tears streaming. "He said I'd lose my job if I didn't erase the files. I didn't want to, but I was scared." Her confession was the final blow, igniting the audience again. Someone yelled, "Arrest him now," as applause echoed from the back. Maxwell Carter turned to the clerk, face purple with rage. "Shut up," he roared, pointing at her. "You traitor, I'll ruin you." But his threat only exposed his desperation. He spun back to Leavitt, screaming, "Happy now, what more do you want?" Leavitt didn't smile, her eyes cold but powerful. "I want justice, Your Honor, and you're not getting away." Carter slammed the desk one last time, hands shaking so hard he nearly tipped the chair. "You've got nothing," he yelled, voice breaking. "I'm the law here, I'll board." But he didn't finish. Leavitt raised the recorder again, finger hovering over the play button. "Want me to play another clip, or should I let the FBI handle it?" The courtroom went silent for a moment, only Carter's panting and the clerk's sobs filling the stifling air. He took a deep breath, trying to roar, You wouldn't dare." But his voice shattered, almost pleading, his trembling finger pointing at Leavitt. Leavitt didn't smile, her gaze cold and steady. "Wouldn't dare," she replied, voice sharp as a blade. "You're wrong, Your Honor, I'd do anything to protect justice." She pressed play again, and another recording blared. Carter's low, clear voice on a phone call. "Thanks, Liberty Fund. The money's in, faith and family won't be an issue." The courtroom exploded. A man in the back shouted, "Unbelievable," as phones kept rolling. The clerk, still sobbing, jumped up, pointing at Carter. "That's true," she cried between gasps. "He made that call right in front of me." Carter lunged forward, reaching over the desk to snatch the device. Turn it off, now," he screamed, but he tripped over the chair, crashing again, spilling a water glass across the floor. Laughter mixed with angry shouts from the audience. He crawled up, robe soaked, hair plastered to his forehead, no trace of a federal judge left. "It's fake," he yelled, pointing a shaky finger at Leavitt. "You and Trump set this up. I'll sue you all." Leavitt stood firm, eyes never leaving him. "Fake?" she asked, voice like ice. "Then why are you so terrified?" She raised her phone, playing security footage. Carter in his office, phone in hand, saying, "Money's on time, I'll handle the next case as planned." The clear, undeniable image flashed on the small screen, reflecting Carter's panicked face. The audience erupted again. A woman shouted, "Arrest him now," as applause and boos blended into a chaotic symphony. Carter staggered, hands clinging to the desk, eyes vacant, as if he'd just realized he'd lost. But then, with his last shred of strength, he did something no one expected. He lunged across the table, snatched the documents from Leavitt's hands, and tore them apart in front of everyone. "You've got nothing," he bellowed, papers flying everywhere like rain. "No one will believe you." The act only made him look more desperate. Leavitt stepped back, her gaze icy. "You just dug your own grave deeper, Your Honor," she said, voice calm. "I have copies, and so does the FBI. You're done." Carter froze, hands full of shredded paper, panting heavily. He looked around, seeing the contempt in the audience's eyes, the eerie silence from the court staff, and Leavitt's unshakable resolve. You can't do this to me," he whispered, voice breaking. "I'm a federal judge. I have power." But his words were drowned out by the heavy footsteps from the main door. The door swung open, and an FBI team marched in, led by a tall agent with a badge glinting under the lights. "Judge Maxwell Carter," the agent declared, voice booming like thunder. "We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of corruption, abuse of power, and destruction of evidence." The courtroom erupted again, thunderous applause mixing with excited shouts. Carter spun around, face pale, screaming, "You can't do this, I have immunity, I have connections." But the agent ignored him, signaling two others to approach, their handcuffs gleaming. Carter thrashed, trying to bolt for the back door again, but two court officers blocked his escape. "You're not going anywhere," one said, voice firm. The lead FBI agent stepped forward, gripping Carter's arm. "We know exactly who you are, Your Honor," the agent said, voice low. "We also know about the Liberty Fund, your offshore accounts, and what you did with the Faith and Family Foundation. It ends today." The cold handcuffs snapped around Carter's wrists with a sharp click, and he stopped struggling, head bowed like a man who'd lost everything. The audience exploded. A group stood and clapped, while others shouted. Justice prevailed. A man raised his phone yelling, "Record this, let the world see." The clerk, still crying, turned to the agent, trembling as she said, "I'll tell you everything. He forced me to do it all." The agent nodded, motioning for another to take her statement. Leavitt stepped back, arms crossed, her eyes locked on Carter as he was led down the aisle. He looked up one last time, glaring at her with hatred. "Think you've won, little girl," he whispered, voice shaky. "There'll always be someone to replace me." Leavitt tilted her head, replying with unwavering confidence. "No, Your Honor, justice won, and you lost because of yourself." Carter said nothing more, head dropping as the agents escorted him out. The clank of handcuffs echoed as the FBI agents led Judge Maxwell Carter down the courtroom aisle, his soaked robe and disheveled hair plastered to his forehead. He kept his head down, shoulders slumped like a man who'd lost it all, but a flicker of spite flashed in his eyes as he glanced at Karoline Leavitt. The courtroom buzzed, applause, and jeers from the audience blending into a symphony of triumph. A man in the back row shouted, "Put him in jail now," as phone flashes popped relentlessly, capturing the downfall of the man who'd once called himself the law. Carter paused mid-aisle, turning one last time to Leavitt. "Think you've won, little girl," he whispered, voice trembling but venomous. "There'll always be someone to replace me. You won't change a thing." Leavitt stood at the center, arms crossed, her gaze locked on him, unflinching. "No, Your Honor," she replied, voice cold but powerful. "Justice won, and you lost because of yourself, for what you did to Faith and Family, to Thompson, and to countless other innocents." Carter opened his mouth to retort, but an agent yanked his arm, cutting him off. "Let's go," the agent growled, and Carter was dragged away, powerless to resist. The audience erupted again. A group stood and clapped, while a woman shouted, "He got what he deserved." The handcuffs clinked as Carter was led out, the door slamming shut behind him, marking the end of the reign of a once untouchable figure. Leavitt turned to the lead agent, handing over the remaining copy of her documents. "Here's everything I've got," Bank statements, emails, videos, she said, voice steady. I trust you'll need them to take down the rest. The agent nodded, taking them with a look of approval. Thank you, Miss Leavitt. You've done more than we could have hoped. The agent turned to his team, signaling to seal off Carter's desk. Search everything, he said, voice low. We need it all, files, hard drives, anything tied to the Liberty Fund. A young agent stepped up, holding an old cardboard box found under the desk. Sir, got something here, he said, opening it. Inside was a stash of secret documents. A list of 7 other judges, each name paired with dates and amounts from the Liberty Fund, all linked to cases against conservative organizations or individuals. The lead agent raised an eyebrow, turning to Leavitt. You were right. It's not just Carter. There's a whole network behind this. Leavitt glanced at the list, her eyes lighting up with determination. I suspected as much, she said, voice low. If there are more like him out there, I'll help you find them. The agent nodded, offering a rare smile. We'll need you as a witness for the bigger investigation. This is just the start. Leavitt nodded without hesitation. I'm in, she replied, eyes fixed on the documents. The courtroom quieted down, but the air still buzzed with excitement. The defense attorney, the young woman who'd stood by Leavitt from the start, approached, voice shaky with emotion. You just saved the Faith and Family Foundation, and not just them, you made history today. Leavitt turned, her gaze softening slightly. No, she said simply, we just restored justice. This is a win for everyone Carter trampled. The attorney smiled, nodding. Still, you were incredible. The audience couldn't take their eyes off Leavitt. An older man stood, clapping slowly, and others joined in, the applause spreading through the room. A woman raised her phone, shouting, she's our hero. The clerk, still teary, turned to the agent, voice trembling. I'll tell you everything. He forced me to destroy evidence, threatened me for months. The agent took careful notes, nodding. You did the right thing by speaking up. We'll protect you. Leavitt stood at the center, arms crossed, her gaze sweeping over the audience, court staff, and the chaos of papers on the judge's desk. A faint smile crossed her lips, not smug, but the satisfaction of knowing she'd done right. She picked up the recorder, slipped it into her pocket, and turned to the agent. If you find more evidence of this network, let me know, she said, voice firm. I want to see them all pay. The agent nodded. We'll be in touch. You've opened a door no one dared touch. As the agents continued their search, a sheet fell from the box of files, an email from Carter to the Liberty Fund. Need more support for the next case. Make sure no one knows. The young agent held it up, scanned it quickly, and handed it to his boss. Looks like he wasn't acting alone, he said. The lead agent nodded, glancing at Leavitt. You were right from the start. This is bigger than we thought. Leavitt said nothing more, just gave a slight nod, her eyes gleaming with the thought of what lay ahead. Carter might be in cuffs, but the list of 7 other judges in the FBI's hands showed this fight was far from over. She stepped away from the witness stand, gaze steady, as if ready for the next battle. The audience kept clapping, the sound echoing through the room, but Leavitt didn't linger for praise. She knew today's justice wasn't just for Faith and Family, it was the start of dismantling a corrupt system. Maxwell Carter, who once called himself the law, now sat in handcuffs, his authority vanishing like smoke. Leavitt, whom he dubbed a political puppet, had become his final nightmare. The defense attorney, the young woman beside Leavitt, stepped forward, voice trembling with emotion. You just saved the Faith and Family Foundation. This case is over. Leavitt turned, nodding slightly. Not just them, she said, voice firm. This is a win for everyone Carter crushed. She glanced at the FBI agents, directing the search of Carter's desk. The scraps of paper he'd torn lay scattered on the floor, but the secret stash, the list of 7 other judges, now sat in the FBI's hands, opening the door to a larger investigation. Minutes later, a temporary judge was called in to take over. An older man with a stern face, he quickly reviewed the evidence Carter had tried to bury, the Faith and Family Foundation's independent audit records. After a moment of silence, he banged the gavel declaring, "There's no basis for the fraud charges. Case dismissed." The courtroom erupted in applause again, softer this time, like a fitting close. The charity's representative, an older man with silver hair, approached Leavitt, tears streaming down his cheeks. "You saved us," he said, voice choked. Leavitt placed a hand on his shoulder, replying, "I just did what was right." Meanwhile, news spread beyond the courtroom like wildfire. Outside, a crowd of reporters had gathered, microphones raised, cameras trained on the main doors. As Leavitt stepped out, flashes erupted like fireworks. A reporter shouted over the noise, "Miss Leavitt, what can you say about Carter's arrest?" She paused, looking straight into the camera, voice clear and steely. "Today we proved no one is above the law, not even a judge. Maxwell Carter abused his power, took dirty money from the Liberty Fund to target the innocent, and twisted justice for personal gain. But the truth won. This is a warning to anyone who thinks they can bend the system. We'll find them." Her words lit a spark. On X, hashtags #JusticeForAll and #Leavitt first Carter shot to the top trends in under 30 minutes. One user wrote, "Karoline Leavitt just took down a corrupt judge in court. This is Gen Z power." Another posted, "Carter's done, but how many more like him are out there?" Videos from the audience, Carter shredding papers and getting cuffed, spread with millions of views in hours. Comments flooded in. "She's a hero. Trump picked the right one." Inside the courtroom, FBI agents kept searching Carter's office. A young agent brought out another box of files, opening it for the lead agent. "More emails and statements here," he said. The list of 7 other judges, all took Liberty Fund money, all with rulings like Carter's. The lead agent nodded, glancing at Leavitt from afar. "She opened a bigger door than we realized," he muttered, then ordered, "Seal it all. We'll investigate every single one." News of the corruption network rippled out, shaking the judicial system. Outside, the crowd grew. A group held handmade signs. "Thank you, Karoline," while others chanted, "Justice for the people." An amateur filmmaker posted a video of Leavitt exiting the courthouse, captioned "The moment justice beat corruption." It racked up hundreds of thousands of likes fast. Major news outlets jumped in. White House press secretary exposes corrupt judge headlined everywhere, from Fox News to CNN, each with a spin, but all agreeing, Leavitt made history. Back in the courtroom, the clerk sat with an agent, spilling details. "He threatened me for months," she said between sobs. "I didn't want to destroy evidence, but he said he'd ruin me if I didn't." The agent took careful notes, reassuring her, "You did right by speaking up. We'll protect you." Her testimony became a key piece, bolstering the case against Carter and paving the way for a deeper probe into his network. On X, public reaction exploded. One user wrote, "From California, Leavitt's the icon we need." Another posted, "A whole corruption network exposed thanks to her. Keep going." #Leavitt for Justice climbed, paired with memes of Carter in cuffs, from justice judge to corrupt prisoner in hours. A viral post read, "She didn't just take down Carter, she's aiming at the whole system." Outside, the crowd wouldn't budge. An older man with a megaphone shouted, "This is the people's victory." Reporters swarmed Leavitt as she approached her car, but she offered one last line before leaving. "Today was the first step. We won't stop until every corrupt player pays." That quote hit every platform instantly, cementing her as a symbol of resilience and justice in the public eye. As the car drove Karoline Leavitt away from the courthouse, the noise of the crowd and press faded into the quiet night. She sat in the back, eyes tracing the dim streetlights of suburban Washington, hands still clutching the copied documents, listing 7 other judges tied to the Liberty Fund. Her phone lit up non-stop with X notifications, thousands of likes, hundreds of thank yous, but she didn't check yet. Instead, she took a deep breath, letting today's victory settle in, a mix of relief and resolve. At home, Leavitt pushed the door open, her heels clicking on the hardwood. Her husband, a low-key businessman with a warm smile, held their 8-month-old son in the living room. "You're back," he said, eyes shining with pride as he saw her. The baby reached for Leavitt, and she scooped him up, hugging him tight. The scent of formula and his warmth pulled her back from the storm she'd just faced. "Mommy did the right thing for this country today," she whispered, kissing his forehead, voice soft but strong. Her husband stepped closer, resting a hand on her shoulder. "I saw the news. You made me so proud, my Gen Z girl." Leavitt laughed, a real easy laugh, her first of the day. "Thanks," she said, eyes sparkling. "But it's not over. Carter's just one piece, there are more out there. Her husband nodded, his gaze serious but trusting. I know, and I know you won't stop. She met his eyes, resolve flaring. Never, she replied, then set their son in his crib and grabbed her phone. Opening X, she saw her post, "Justice doesn't come easy, but today we won it," had racked up tens of thousands of likes, with comments flooding in. "You're our hero. Keep fighting." One read, "From Florida, thank you for standing up for the truth." Leavitt smiled, typing a quick update. "Today was step 1. Thank you all for the support. We won't stop until justice is fully restored. Let's keep going together." The post sparked an instant surge, #Leavitt for justice, climbing higher, spreading like an unstoppable flame. The story of Karoline Leavitt facing off against Judge Maxwell Carter mirrors a grim reality in the U.S. today: corruption in the justice system and political polarization, eroding public trust. Carter, a federal judge, took Liberty Fund money to twist justice, from the Faith and Family Foundation to the Thompson case, a poster child for power-abusing officials, a familiar issue in 2025 America, where political scandals dominate headlines. Leavitt, a young press secretary, used hard evidence like bank statements, emails, and security footage to take him down, showing the power of truth in bold hands. Her use of X to amplify her message, "From justice doesn't come easy" to #Leavitt Fizz, Carter, highlights social media's role in holding power accountable today. Carter's fall, from desperately shredding papers to being cuffed by the FBI, reminds us no one's untouchable. The takeaway is practical. In modern American life, you can spark change by standing up with evidence and your voice, like Leavitt did when Carter called her a hollow Gen Z brat. Don't fear the powerful, gather facts, like she did with the list of 7 judges, and use platforms like X to rally a community. Her actions didn't just save Faith and Family, they launched a broader probe, proving one determined person can shake a system. In today's U.S., where justice often blurs, take a page from Leavitt. Truth is the strongest weapon, and you're never alone fighting for it. If you want to keep following this battle to expose corruption and defend justice like today, hit subscribe now. Thanks for joining me to take down Maxwell Carter, and see you in the next video as we hunt down more like him.